So Chomskyisms 2. Question. Man. This is a man speaking. Alright, that's Mr. Chomsky, I'm wondering what specific qualifications do you have to be able to speak all around the country about world affairs? What qualifications do you have? Noam Chomsky. None whatsoever. I mean, the qualifications that I have to speak on the world affairs are exactly the same ones that Henry Kissinger has and Walt Rostow has, or anybody in the political science department, professional historians. None that you don't have. The only difference is I don't pretend to have qualifications, nor do I pretend that qualifications are needed. I mean, if somebody were to ask me to give a talk on quantum physics, I'd refuse because I don't understand enough. But world affairs are trivial. There's nothing in the social sciences or history or whatever that is beyond the intellectual capacities of an ordinary 15-year-old. You have to do a little work. You have to do some reading. You have to be able to think, but there's nothing deep. If there are any theories around that require some special kind of training to understand, then they've been kept a carefully guarded secret. In fact, I think the idea that you're supposed to have special qualifications to talk about world affairs is just another scam. It's kind of like Leninism. It's a position in socialist revolution should be led by a vanguard party. It's just another technique for making the population feel that they don't know anything and that they better just stay out of it and let us smart guys run it. In order to do that, what you pretend is that there's some esoteric discipline and you've got to have some letters after your name before you can say anything about it. The fact is, that's a joke. I'm going to carry this on because actually that was all I wanted to say, but it's 2 minutes. Chomskyism. It was short and sweet, but the whole thing is actually remarkable, okay? The man proceeds. He keeps on plugging away, right? He's going to get Chomsky. But don't you also use that system too because of your name recognition and the fact that you're a famous linguist? I mean, would I be invited to go somewhere and give talks? Uh-oh. It's a good question. What's Chomsky going to say now? You think I was invited here because people know me as a linguist? Okay, if that was the reason, that's a bad mistake because there are plenty other linguists around and they aren't getting invited to places like this. So I don't really think that could be the reason. I assumed that the reason is that there are topics that I've written a lot about and I've spoken a lot about and I've demonstrated a lot about and I've gone to jail about and so on and so forth. I assume that's the reason. If it's not, well, then it's a bad mistake. If anybody thinks that you should listen to me because I'm a professor at MIT, that's nonsense. You should decide whether something makes sense by its content, not by the letters after the name of the person who says it. And the idea that you're supposed to have special qualifications to talk about things that are common sense, that's just another scam. It's another way to try to marginalize people, and you shouldn't fall for it. Woman, seeing as you're such a big draw with audiences, though, and since you do have some name recognition, I'm wondering, what would you think about running a presidential campaign? I mean, huge crowds come out to listen to your talks all around the country. Those people might support something like that and want to begin getting involved with it. Well, it's true about the audiences, but I don't think that it has to do with name recognition or anything like that. See, there are only about 10 people in the country, literally, who do this kind of thing. John Stockwell, Alex Cockburn, Dan Ellsberg, Howard Zinn, Holly Skylar, only a couple of others, and we all get the same reaction. I think it's just a matter of people all over the country being hungry to hear a different viewpoint, and what's more, we all get the same reaction wherever we go. It's the same in towns where nobody's ever heard of me. Like, I was in Central Michigan last week. They didn't know who I was from Adam, but it was the same kind of crowd. Woman. But seeing as you do get all this draw, why not run a presidential campaign? First of all, there's nobody around to run for president. And if there were, you, Stockwell, anybody who wants to be president should right away say, I don't want to hear that guy anymore. I'm sorry? You should say, I don't want to listen to that person anymore. Anybody who wants to become your leader, you should say, I don't want to follow. That's like a rule of thumb which almost never fails. But what about just to create a forum where more of the population would hear this different point of view? Well, if you want to use it kind of instrumentally, like jiu-jitsu or something, use the properties of the system against it, okay. But I don't really think that makes any sense, frankly. Woman, the form of government we have just has to be overthrown, in your view? Is there no way of doing it through reform? It's not a relevant distinction. If you could ever get to the point where a reformist candidate had a chance, you've already have won. You'd already have done the main thing. The main thing is to develop the kind of mass support which would make a revolution meaningful. At that point, some crook will come along and say, I'm your leader, I'll do it for you. What do you think could have that effect, though? It's just like Noam Chomsky say, going and talking to 500 people here and there, just keep plugging away. Yeah, you keep plugging away. That's the way social change takes place. That's the way every social change in history has taken place, by a lot of people who nobody ever heard of doing work. Man, do you ever go through a phase of hopelessness? Or, yeah, every evening? Man, I feel like I'm kind of stuck in one. Every meeting, I mean, look, if you want to feel hopeless, there are a lot of things you can feel hopeless about. If you want to sort of work out objectively what's the chance that the human species will survive for another century, it's probably not very high. But I mean, what's the point? Man, you just got to work at it. Yeah, what's the point? I mean, first of all, those predictions don't mean anything. They're more of just a reflection of your mood or personality than anything else. And if you act on that assumption, then you're guaranteeing that it will happen. If you act on the assumption that things can change, well, maybe they will. Okay, the only rational choice given those alternatives is to forget the pessimism. Chomskyisms. Number 2.